stopped being lazy, and instead of hiring employees, code systems. Decided to stop hiring humans 2-3 years ago, which my cortex tends to think was the best decision I ever made. I want a portfolio of high performance business. I want AIs to run these because now it's pure profits and it's less emotional headaches and it's scale.
What would you recommend someone should do to become successful as quickly as possible?
Yeah, launch right now and expect pain. That's it.
Welcome Charles Cormier to the deep dive. Charles is a serial entrepreneur who launched 50 startups, including a supplement company and a bunch of cash cow companies while living in Hong Kong 10 years ago. He ran 3 Ironmans and does up to 16 podcast interviews a day, and he's interviewed more than 700 CEOs. His offers, last time when I spoke with him, he's running multiple companies, agencies, does podcasting as a service, cold email as a service, masterminds. He has a mousetrap where he gives contacts for free, and then people actually use that to then convert into paid. And also the podcast actually is interesting because he invites his ICP, his ideal customers, to the podcast, and from there he gets business. So with that, one more thing, it's a 6-figure business. He's sending also 30,000 emails out a day, fully automated using different tools. We'll also double click on that. So Charles, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me again. By the way, I thought about multiple angles while you were talking. I launched new interesting company lately. I always need to look at my LinkedIn because I launched so many things. For example, CEO bunkers. So we may talk about that one. It's a luxury bunker business. And I can also tell you about some campaigns that have been doing quite incredible from a lead gen perspective lately.
Let's do it. Let's maybe start even there. Like sending 30,000 emails a day. Like how do you do it? What is converting? How does it work?
Right. So, okay. I use Apollo. I use SendGrids. That's my tech stack still. I use Clay. I even launched an agency for that. Clay is AI emails. Clay's the future, is the present. For example, I could search up all the ICPs of 10,000 agencies and send them an email mentioning to them, this is your ICP. I can help you get to that ICP, right? Apollo won't allow you to do that. They have a simple AI tag, which is not super much advanced. Now, how do I get as many meetings? The podcast strategy is still super effective. So you can get 100 meetings per week easy. Nowadays, I launched a company that fully does that. It's called Podfire. So I help people get on podcasts. I help people start podcasts. I help people get sponsors, and I help people monetize via YouTube, right? Just like I'm doing. Pretty ikigai concept. Now, if your VP sales and your AEs, your account execs are not busy 30% of the time, and let's say you have a team of 5 to 10 of them, well, you want to fill that calendar with a bunch of leads, right? So people hire me, VP sales hire me to book meetings to their VP sales. It's not the 30% close rate that a normal sales meeting will have, but it's a mere 10%. But once you have 100 meetings per week, that's 10 new clients per week. And if these clients are worth 10K each, well, that's 100K that you just generated in 1 week. MRR, hopefully. Now, podcast is just one offer out of many, right? There's always a target and an offer. My favorite target, my CP, is serial tech entrepreneurs / investor hybrids. They founded startups. They've got their exits. They're rich, a bit like you, Matt. And basically, they're not also pure investors that have never founded a startup. So these guys, they have the cash to pay me. They're creative. They're successful. That's my favorite ICP. But I also have various offers to test out to them. For example, one thing that works very well, apart from podcasting, is organizing masterminds in your local city. Since COVID, people are happy to meet physically. So I take the best, most luxurious restaurant in New York, for example, with the best view, and I organize a mastermind of 15 to 20 CEOs. And I have partners doing that. So I don't actually show up to these, but it still leads for me. Because they're like, how did you organize the meeting? And they discover I do cold email and so forth. So any entrepreneurs, they can do that with their ICPs, right? If they're in a big city, of course, or if they're willing to travel to a city. So that's one offer that's been working very well for me. So instead of just being, hey, let's do a Zoom call, you organize these masterminds, you run them. Of course, I teach my clients how to do so, and then they generate a whole bunch of leads. But yeah, you can see there's podcasts, there's the mastermind, there's direct sales calls, but direct sales calls, you need to have a guarantee, right? You need to have a top offer for it to work. But then you A B test all of these things and you let the market speak, and then you get product market fit. That was long.
No, it's good. Let me double click on that to understand better. So someone, let's say VP sales, want to have more leads, and you bring him ICPs. Are you like essentially like literally sending him then the leads, or you're sending him a system? And how do you make sure that the ICPs are of, it's really ICPs, they're of good quality, and or maybe even better quality one what the VP sales currently gets in?
Yeah, they're ICP, so specific title, specific revenue, specific funding, specific growth rate, headcount growth rate, specific niche, right? There are all these very precise details. We start on a podcast with them. A podcast is very similar to a sales calls. If you're a master at sales, if you're a sales sensei, it's just about asking great questions and listening and starting a nice conversation, make the other feel at ease, showing your smarts through your questions. And that's what a podcast is, right? No one wants to be sold nowadays. Like, hey, here's what I do. Here's how I can help you. Hey, Matt, and I mention your name and I try to manipulate you to some results, you know? No, it's about seeing if there's chemistry, if you enjoy my brain, if you think I can use this brain as a weapon for you to bring you more results, and if we can go hunt together, you know? Or if we go hunt and you're the one doing everything and I'm just a weight on you, you know, plus I'm charging you for that, which is most companies. So a podcast is exactly this. Now if you're talking to a founder or a CEO, they might want to talk to a founder or CEO. An AE interviewing a CEO is a bit odd, but usually AEs can compensate with their people skills, right? Which a CEO might not have. CEOs are, they're a bit, you know, megalomaniac, and they're all about themselves, you know. So yes, having a bunch of AEs interview their ICP at scale, 15, 30 minutes, ask them questions. And then after the podcast is done, you have content, of course, that you can share, can monetize on YouTube, can find sponsors, of course. But you can follow up with that lead via email and eventually get them to close these prospects into clients.
If you speak to a VP sales, a CEO, about, let's say, a mastermind offer or whatever you have, like what is the thing where they usually say, oh, wow, this is interesting. I haven't heard about this before. This might really work.
Hmm. The mastermind concept has been put on the map by Napoleon Hill in the 50s or even in the 30s. He used to mastermind with all of these beasts like Carnegie, Mellon, Rockefeller, right? Like these magnets. And there's huge advantages in masterminding with people. Me, you know, I always have some thesis when I start new ventures with the mastermind was like, oh, I'm going to monetize it. There's Sam Spar, Hampton. Sam Spar is the My First Million co-host, and he
Right.
monetized it. I think he charged a couple of thousands per month. But to me, what I discovered with Mastermind is that they're not a product in themselves; they're a lead gen mechanism. So I would run my level96.com mastermind, and I would all be sad face and disappointed. Oh, no one wants to pay me. No one is showing up on time on these masterminds, but these masterminds, they're the best lead gen mechanism ever. You just take your ultimate ICP, you put them in a room together, and you give them the rules, and you're the conductor between each. And eventually, these people, they will pay for your services. They won't pay for the mastermind itself, but they will pay for your services. That's been my insight. Now, to your question, my clients, they're interested by Mastermind. They're interested in networking and growing their influence, sharing knowledge, being accountable, being supported by other entrepreneurs, but they don't know where to start. Just like podcasting, to them, it's like super complex. I'm not sure why you might answer that question yourself, Matt, but people, I think they just overcomplicate everything. They create obstacles where there are none. And they think, oh shit, it'll be complicated. It's stressful. I think they have like very few brain space to entertain new ideas like a mastermind or a podcast. So when I come up to them with this idea, even if I send them the full details, they're not all willing to pull the trigger. And the one that are, they're already started, they're 0 to 1 people like you and I guess. So yeah, mastermind, super interesting,
What's the
underrated,
offer then?
underused.
What's the
But
offer then? Let's say you have a free mastermind. Everyone so far I think is thinking like mastermind should cost 30K, 40K, 60K.
frozen, Matt,
Now all of a sudden you're saying, hey, this could be free.
you're back.
And so normally like masterminds cost 30K, 40K, 60K, whatever, right? Or let's say 10K. But now you're saying like they can actually be free. They're good for lead gen. Like what's then the offer behind? Like any service, or what's the service that converts like crazy from a
Yeah,
mastermind?
it can be anything, right? Like me, I'm into lead gen. I'm into podcasting as a service, for example. All what I'm saying, my thesis on that is you take your ultimate ICP and then you just talk to them, and eventually they'll see value in what you do if you're good at it. Um, but if I would have to, yeah, pinpoint like a niche, I'd say like generally agencies that have services to offer, not necessarily like B2B SaaS, because B2B SaaS, most of the time their ICP is super duper precise. Me, I need some space, some bandwidth. I need a large TAM. So yeah, agencies, or I wouldn't say coaching. Coaching, I think people are just tired of that niche. What do you think of business coaching? I think it has gone its time.
What would agencies do then actually? Like they would, so are you saying you have agency owners in the mastermind? You actually brainstorm with them how to have better services and offers as an agency, and then ultimately they would buy like podcast as a service, mastermind as a service, and do that for their customers. That what?
Yeah, could be a scenario, but I was referring to an agency owner starting their own mastermind, and me helping them. For example, in that scenario, me, my ICP, my very favorite clients, they're serial tech entrepreneurs and investors. So that's who I'm aiming for in my masterminds. And my level96.com mastermind, these guys will pay me ultimately. They're flush with cash. They want to de-risk business. They want to create a business that will create other business, which is my latest venture, lean venturestudio.com. It's using the same cold email system, but instead to get them leads, it's testing startup ideas, right? So that's who I'm aiming for. But yeah, when I was referring to someone starting their own mastermind, an agency owner can do it as long as their time is pretty big. I don't like playing with small TAMs, like people love niching down to a very, very precise TAM, like 500 people in the full world. But yeah, I don't like that much. I think this is limiting for many reasons.
Mm-hmm. Could you give us some insights on how you literally reach out to people, like with the systems, maybe even screen share it, and then how does that convert into meetings, and maybe share your calendar?
Yeah, the calendar less impressive than before. I'm in a phase in which I'm chilling nowadays. So this used to be filled with like many calendar, many meetings. Yeah, I've taken some quote unquote pauses lately just to reflect on things, and yeah, get better business insights and directions. I'm more nudging on the quality side of things than quantity in this phase. I still believe that quantity is a big driver in business, but yeah, that's my calendar. So yeah, some clients later on today. Yeah, I was like, I had 4 meetings right now, so that's why I say I almost missed this. podcast. But yeah, that's my calendar. Apollo is how I launch campaigns. Um, every day I'm trying to write at least 5 to 10 emails. So, for example, these ones will be Clay. Clay is this AI tool, so it will be ICP based. This one, and then I also have my Blabs. I call them Blabs is like non AI email, and yeah, I'm just trying to write as many cool emails as I can on a daily basis. I still think that copywriting is one of the best skills to entertain nowadays. It helps you think better, and then you have a product out of it and you put it out in the market and people give you opinion on it. But yeah, for example, this one's a blab, so today I should write about these things. It's like just a headline that I think, right? I'm at the gym and I have this insight, I write it down here. Or I'm going on a walk with the dogs and I'm having all these ideas. I write these headlines here and I try to complete them in an email here. And yeah, it's a sequence. You can see like day 10, 13, etc. Um, now, yesterday, like I told you, um, I was putting the emphasis on the masterminds. Specifically, I have a Toronto mastermind coming in 14-ish days with a partner. And shout out to anyone that wants to come on that date, CEOs. And yeah, this one, I'm putting the emphasis on that. Yesterday, I launched a San Francisco one and a New York one at the best venues with the best views because I think it's going to generate a bunch of leads. And I have friends in these areas. I could even launch one for you, Matt. And yeah, I'm going to launch one for Davos as well. I'm actually going to show up there in 2025. Let's see how that experiment goes. And what else do we have here? Yeah, the online mastermind, but for lead gen purposes, not for generating clients. So, how do I launch campaigns? Well, that's a campaign, right? I go and search in Apollo, that is, and then I have some pre-saved search. I could put like the titles and all of that. I take these contacts and yeah, I add them to sequences. Once I do, I get all the replies here on my cannery. I have all my emails. I have hundreds of emails here. And yeah, once I have the replies here, I send them a Calendly. People book or they send me a Calendly. I book in the calendar. And then there's a bunch of automations to follow up with them to make sure that I actually close these transactions.
Let's say you want to, I think you're based in Oaxaca, Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you want to host a mastermind in Toronto in 2 weeks and you want to have 30 people there. How do you do it?
Yeah. So, for example, in Toronto, I have a guy that started as a client of mine, which is my thesis, by the way, in business. And he became a friend. And then he became a business partner. And he's in Toronto. His name is Sunny Ray. And I've got a bunch of clients in Toronto, a bunch of friends. I'm Canadian, from Montreal. And yeah, he's going to physically show up. If it's super successful, which I think it will, because I can see the quality of CEOs and I can filter them, their headcount growth rate, their funding, and all of that. I can see that from the clouds from a distance. And yeah, if it's really successful, I'm actually going to show up. My hopes, though, is more to create a machine and a system to get a bunch of leads throughout the world and on the back end. And yeah, like scale that. I'm weird. I don't like believe in like physical quality stuff really, but who knows? I might change opinions on that and do the unscalable. So that's how I would do it in the Toronto scheme of things. And yeah, in Oaxaca, I mean, I just take a plane to Mexico City and travel there. So, but yeah, it's time, and I hate traveling. I'm not sure about you, but I don't like traveling. I did it for 7 years as a nomad, traveled the world, and just got tired of it.
Okay. Double clicking again on Toronto. So you essentially have Apollo. You reach out to people, CEOs that are in the Toronto area. You then say, "Hey, there's this really cool thing happening. It's for free. It's invite only, and other cool people will show up. The more invitations or accepted people like RSVPs you have, you then actually share that with people, create more hype about it. Then people show up, and you with that tactic and it's pretty automated. You then get 30 people in there, then people meet there. You have someone that is locally joining these, and then you just like have a mastermind format where they talk about stuff, and
Yeah.
that builds up trust to then convert them into an offer.
Yeah. So there's many concepts or product offers into that big offer. The first one is the view, right? So we need something inspiring. I'm a huge believer in view. The house I'm in right now has used pretty much everywhere, and it just gives you that new energy. That's one concept. It's not really a huge concept, but it is. That and even before that one, we take the most expensive places so that we make sure that people that are struggling are just not gonna show up. This is not really for yet like having people go from 0 to 1. It's CEOs, masterminds, wealthy people, lead gen. And that listening to myself sounds harsh, but yeah, it is what it is for that one. I have other causes that helps 0 to 1 people. The third concept here would be that people stand up and just pitch who they are and their business at the beginning of the dinner. The fourth could be an eventual roundtable in which they mention their business challenge, but I think for first time that'd be a bit odd to share that much about them. So we need to win the trust. These would be recurring editions as well. So I'm still adding like a couple of concepts here and there. And the lesson here is to launch fast, a lot of people they never launch, and me, I'm not complicating stuff and being OCD and analytical like most newbies are. I used to be that way. I just launch it up, don't stress with it, and let things flow. And then I take the data from that, I analyze it, and then I come up with new concepts. So with that one, it would be our second mastermind. I've got a couple of lessons from the first one, a bit more structure. But yeah, the more we do these, the more we can take down notes and add concepts. So what concepts would you add to these mastermind to make them cool?
Yes, that's a good question. I mean, I'm part of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, right? And there we have the forum, which is kind of like a mastermind where we are very open about personal update, like what's going inside me, my
Right.
relationships, but also business and so on. I think the relationships there are became friends and actually something which is very fulfilling for me. And like the forum is something which is very important to me. Um, am I really in business then with the people? It's actually something which is not suggested, because you actually then have a harder time to go all in on the masterminds.
Hmm.
But I know there's a lot of business
Interesting.
masterminds where you actually connect, and then you leverage the network. So a lot of people were here that they're in a mastermind because of the network, so they can all of a sudden get access to someone that they usually don't get access to, and they share access to the network.
Yeah.
Um,
EO is good for that. I've heard great stuff about them for that, but do you think they could get you to open like at the first mastermind?
Yeah, it was gone for a second. Hey, let's move on. You said you hate to travel. You last time said you hate to hire people. Everything is going to be AI. You also got married. Meanwhile, you have 4 dogs. Did a lot of
Five.
Ironmans. Huh?
Five now.
5. Congratulations. What does a rich life mean to you, and how do you work towards achieving it?
Yeah, rich life is the life that I have right now. It's not perfect for sure, but yeah, how could I say it? For me, rich life has to do with nature and connection with nature and being one. Has to do with spirituality and questioning life and experimenting and observing and being creative. That's why I shaped my businesses the way they are. It's something continuous, it's something eternal, it's something perennial. It's not something that burns me, and it is hard, but I do believe that pain is part of the equation as well. um Concretely, it means views. Like I'm looking at forest right now. It's just beautiful, feel one with the world, the clouds. It means, yeah, going on my roof observing the stars at night. It means going in motocross in the mountains and being in the moment, right? And not being obsessed with things, and whether that is food, porn, TikTok, distractions that we have in this modern era. It means being true as well. It means fighting with your own demons, and trying to shape yourself in a 1% better way on a daily basis. And yeah, it's very much experimenting new things because, yeah, for example, right now here in Oaxaca, I don't have that much of a community. I have one that's developing and I'm part of it. But yeah, for example, that's one of my goals this month to make more physical friends and do more physical activities. But and yeah, spending time with my wife, spending time with the dogs. What is your definition of this life? This great life?
I mean, the family became more and more important
Yeah,
with a wife and the kids now, and making sure that everything is sound and safe for them, and got a whole other purpose with the kids. So, so I think it's less about me. It's more about um, creating safety and excitement for them, and then also getting fulfillment by creating value and impact with others, meeting cool people, doing cool shit. Simply speaking.
yeah.
Um, I wonder though, like what you just shared, how do you balance all of that? You said like 5 dogs, then you're like all these businesses, you have like tons of meetings in your calendar, so many things are going on. You're going into nature, like all these things that you just shared. How do you balance all of that?
Yeah, seamlessly. Um, is it because I've did it for so long? Is it because that I'm smart? Is it because I don't know? I have. It's a good question. Is it because I have mechanisms? Is it because my wife is there to help? Is it because we have people cleaning the house, cooking for us? Is it? I don't know. It's always been seamless. I think one insight here is that I don't stress about things. I don't give a fuck. Literally, like this is my world. So like, if someone comes, like yesterday, for example, I reached out to this idiot for my podcast, and yeah, he was mentally disturbed probably, but whatever. He started dissing me for like no reason. I I interviewed. I asked him out for my podcast, and I never get that, by the way. And yeah, just ignore, and I don't give a crap about that guy. But if I'm mentioning it right now, it may mean that I give a crap. Anyway, I try to not bother about these things, and aiming for perfection, I think, is the enemy of living a great life and enjoying life. I also biohack quite extensively, which means that my brain functions better than most. Like, I have an impeccable memory. I don't forget much things. I always perform at my best. I impose a lot on myself too. I don't bitch out ever. So last Friday I did a 42K in the rain in the mountains. I did it, and when it's important for me to complete the hard stuff, I just do it. So I always impose a lot on myself. I prioritize sleep too. So I slept 9 hours last night. And yeah, I think that makes generally things easier. But I have a gazillion mental models as well. I have great CEOs and founders like you to brainstorm with, and people that support me and vouch for me reaching the finish line, just like I reach for you to reach a finish line. We support one another, real motherfuckers, like, and we don't try to, yeah, snitch on one another or just be like, oh, you won't make it. I have a great community of friends and CEOs, clients that became friends. So I think that's also important. So every day I have these friends, these allies of mine that I get to see online. Hopefully I'll have them physically too. But yeah, it's a good question. I haven't stopped and tried to figure that one out, but definitely being chilled and not being OCD and obsessed with trying to have everything perfect.
Can you share a personal story of a significant obstacle that you faced and how you overcame it?
Uh, yeah, of course. But I'm trying. Well, the last one was the 42K I did last Friday. shit myself twice in the mountains in the cold rain, Goggins style. And I understood, by the way, why Goggins loved running in the rain, as because he can piss himself and shit himself and just continue with like if there's nothing. It was pouring rain in the mountains. It was quite cold, but I did it. That was 3 days ago. Um, and yeah, a bunch of challenges, right? Like they closed the park on me, so I had to find a way to finish it and bunch of things. Anyway, but yeah, like more significant one in my life, I have a bunch, you know. But yeah, when I decided to travel the world with my wife, I had a business serving realtors, Facebook ads for realtors back then. I wasn't sure if it was gonna survive the online context. That was in 2017, and it did. You know, I could travel the world, and the realtors wouldn't want to meet me physically. So, and yeah, decided to become an entrepreneur full time. I had an agency partner of mine, my 45-year-old mentor back then, and I branched out by my own, survived that too, and a bunch of Ironmans, and yeah, like crazy stories. Like my first Ironman that I did, I limped to the finish line because my knee was all busted. So I limped for 10 kilometer. But yeah, I love survival stories. Yesterday before going to bed, I asked ChatGPT about a couple of them. And did you know, did you ever listen to the Revenant movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? He got attacked by a bear. Well, that's a real story. And yeah, way better than anything I'll tell you, because this guy in real life, he got abandoned by his trapper friends, and he limped for 200 kilometer. He limped. He on the ground, you know, like a zombie for 200 kilometers, and survived, having a bear maul him for a solid hour. Like most people don't even survive 5 minutes being mauled by a bear. Anyway, so that's a good one.
Let's try to translate this to someone that is not there yet, someone that wants to become an entrepreneur, creator. What are some key lessons that you learned? What would you recommend someone should do in order to become successful as quickly as possible?
Yeah, launch right now and expect pain. That's it, you know. Like as a young student in Hong Kong back then, exchange student, I had 16 hours a day to work on my startup, a couple more to eat, go to the gym and sleep. And that's what I did. Also, test out a bunch of niches. I used to be really good at World of Warcraft. I was the best torrent hunter, PvP torrent hunter, level 70, full epic gear. I would crush everyone. But before I was that, I had to test all the classes in World of Warcraft: a warrior, a rogue, um, warlock, mage, and I picked the hunter because it was my favorite. And yeah, test out many offers, test out many markets. Uh, for me to reach the hybrid entrepreneur investor, it took me 10 years. And I understood that this was my ICP, you know, rich serial entrepreneur. Um, and yeah, that took me time. And same for the offers, right? I'm testing out offers on a daily basis. Now people will tell me, "Oh, you won't ever get out of the testing phase. You're distracted. You're in all direction." Well, I won't ever get out of experimental phase. I think that when you get out of experimental phase is when you start failing. It's when monopolies fall. It's when yeah, you just don't see the future anymore. You're not testing. You're not listening anymore. You think you have it all right. Um, so test out, launch now, and look at things from a very long term perspective. You know, like me, my lens that I put on, it's not like right now in this moment on the 25th of June, 9:45 a.m. I don't give a shit about that. I look at myself from a decade period or from a yearly period. I look at myself from a very, very long term perspective. And all my experiments, I give them time. Some of them, they really suck. They're not part of my ikigai. My ikigai is a bunch of Venn circles together. It's a mental model that I use to see if a business is a fit or not for me, for Charles.
Yep.
If it's gonna grow, if it's bringing money, if it's fun. But yeah, if you're gonna look at yourself, oh, I'm suffering right now. This is terrible. This is not the lens. You need to look at yourself as a young founder. It's more like, okay, I'm starting the game right now, and in 5 to 10 years, I might have success, might get rich. And by the way, this is the only path. It's the only scalable path to be wealthy, be free, and so forth. Being employed is not scalable. So yeah, this is a couple of advice for them.
Yeah, makes sense. Let me understand the focus topic, because I think it's super interesting. You do a lot of different businesses, and I even had some people on the show that say, hey, I had like 10 different things, 8 different things, 13 different things. And it really took off when I focused on one thing where I saw like this could be it, and then completely going all in on that. You say you want to stay in the experimental phase because otherwise you're failing. How does that go together? And I know what the ultimate outcome is, but let's say, I don't know, Forbes 550, I don't know what it is, but how do you think focus, what's the role of focus in your life and in the future, Charles?
Right. Well, yeah, there's Alex Hormozy that'll tell you to go all in one business so that he can acquire it, right? So, I've lived my ideal life since forever, even in my 18s when I was. So it's all about the environment, right? Like when I was 17 or 18, my parents had the charge of me. What was my best life then? It was party, video games, drugs, and women. Um, I boxed out of that life. I had to grow out of that shell. Then what was my ideal life with my wife was traveling the world. Um, then we're about to have kids. What is our ideal life? It's right now. It's with this view, this house, and all the luxuries we have here. I already have it. Yeah, there can be more, but yeah, I'm reverse engineering this thing. So for me, it's not like, oh, want to get like 10 million right now. It's more like, yeah, this reality, I'm having it, and yet it's not like a figure that will determine my happiness, for example. Now, will I ever focus on one thing? What are my goals in life? I want like other domination. I want others to win too, but yeah, I want to be the best at pretty much everything. So with that, I don't want to go in one thing. That means I would be blind to what would happen in these other fields. I want a portfolio of high performance business. I want AIs to run these. Currently trying to figure this out. Want to have fun. And yeah, who knows? I might be taken in one direction, but yeah, I'm quite stubborn about some thesis. So not sure what would bring that change in me.
Let me challenge you.
Yeah.
Let's see what you say. Back in the 20s, I also like girls, right? It was obvious. And then I always struggled to commit to one person, right? And ultimately, when I turned 30, found my wife, and then got married a few years later. I would say getting married was one of the best decisions I've ever done,
Yeah.
because it took all the other options off the table, and I'm completely committed on one person. And with that in mind, I feel much more free. So by actually being limited to one person and committed to one person, I experience the ultimate freedom and peace of mind. And I can work on that with so much more clarity, and I'm less driven on things left and right. So,
Yeah.
so I really enjoy that. That is the complete opposite to what you just said. But actually also doing it the same with your wife, right? So
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
does that go
Wife in
together?
business. I mean, I had the analogy. Am I a business whore right now? Is a question myself has been asking. Um, and then there's a World of Warcraft thesis. But I mean, it's way more than that. I think it's also contrarian. Um, I think, I'm thinking very long term. I have, yeah, three main moonshots, right? AGI is one, but I think it's OpenAI has already cracked it, and I simplify that one with AI agents. Then living forever. So I want to live forever. That's also a different mental model that most common mortals don't have. That's why they think in one business in terms of many. And the third one would be Neuralink. And that implies that in my living, I might even like outpace capitalism itself. So anyway, there's a bunch of mental models in there and I do think that, yeah, there's a sprinkle of Elon in there, but Elon is like, he focused on one thing before going in all of these directions. My thesis is that every business should help one another. I think that's a valid one from the ground up. I think it's way more safe to build it that way also. If you check also, like most founders that are really wealthy and have their exits, there's certainly luck. We don't hear the unsuccessful stories. Plus, most of billionaires, they got there and they're really scarred internally. There's lots of trauma because they impose so much on themselves. So do I want to take risks nowadays and go all in into one thing? Possibly. That's also how I started, by the way. Like 10 years ago, I tested the one thing. I had this nootropic company similar to these guys for the brain. And yeah, that was them. I lost multiple six figure into that one. And yeah, I don't think that is the way to go. But yeah, burning all the boats like Ernest Cortes, the conquistador, did when conquering Mexico, um, is bold. But yeah, I think it's also very stressful. And I think we just don't hear of the people that died on the way there. And yeah, I could spend a full pod. I have multiple mental models on that one. Long story short, if I'm not dumb either, if like one venture seems to, one experiment seems to be like working very well, I might go all in into that one. But I'd rather have AI agents run them for me.
What I'm hearing is to keep the options open gives you safety, security, and you feel just less stressed.
Yeah, but I'm not seeking safety either. So that's the odd thing. It's more of a total conquering mindset. I'm building an empire, and I'm not building one small but mighty empire.
If you could change one thing though about your life or business and feel really good about it, what would it be?
Yeah, if I could change my mind, uh, for example, what we just discussed, if there's like scientific evidence and I could change that mindset of mine to reach one goal. I think I have an addictive personality as well, which cannot be good always. For example, coffee. Do you drink coffee, Matt?
I don't.
Okay, so getting off coffee, yeah, is hard. And there's little things like that. I think life is sacrifices as well. So giving up coffee might not be the best thing for me right now because I'm running this 100K, need caffeine for many reasons. But if I could change my mind, generate serotonin, control my chemistry on purpose, that'd be pretty amazing. AK Neuralink, right?
Real quick, what's this 100K run and how do you prepare for it so that you
Yeah,
master?
it's Hikuri in Puerto Vallarta. Might hit 86% humidity in the mountains. So I'm having 2 saunas a day. I have my sauna here. And yeah, it's complete bonkerness, craziness. I'm doing it with my first business partner for our nootropic business, top guy. And yeah, that's also interesting because we're going to be following one another, which is usually what you don't do in ultra races because it's very individual. But the goal is to prepare for a Neko race, a Neko challenge race. Not sure if you've seen those, but these are like 5-7 days. And yeah, you need to have a team of 4 and you need to follow one another. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to listen to the same music, have the same pair of AirPods. So it's going to be fun.
Final question. What are the most important lessons that you've learned and what do people need to know out there?
Well, lessons are interesting, right? Because you mentioned about like me not hiring humans. Is it a lesson or a trauma? Um, I've tried the human equation for 7 years and hired 1,000 humans for my multiple companies and agencies, and decided to stop hiring humans 2, 3 years ago, which my cortex tends to think was the best decision I ever made, because now it's pure profits and it's less emotional headaches and it's scale, because I'm coding systems to do their jobs now instead, which is not being lazy. So yeah, if I would want to be controversial and call out founders and CEOs, and yeah, you can make a clip out of that, I'd be like, stop being lazy, and instead of hiring employees, code systems.
Thank you so much. That was inspirational.
Pleasure.